Imagine being at a convention and going to an interview panel that's just for you. No bustling crowds, no hours-long lines, just you, the moderator, and your favorite comic book creators. Well, this is pretty much that. Miss Jen sits down every week with two comic book creators for a live stream interview about their latest work, and you can ask them whatever you want. It's Talking Shop, Mondays at 5 Eastern on The Experience, Comic Culture and Sales.
Sorry, I'm trying to figure out a way to rhyme something for the post I was making. I was trying to tease people for like how to know what we're doing today about, choosing your things. I said it was about making your comic book list. It was like checking your list and making it twice. And then I was like trying to make another thing that rhymed. And I was like, no, I have 2 seconds. So if you look at that post for our store page, you'll be like, oh my word, Miss Jen had a heart attack right in the middle of what she was doing. She stroked out right in mid-sentence. Hi, everybody, and welcome to The Experience / our crazy show. I'm going to skim it. We're these people.
These people.
Woo. Hey, more specifically, this is Miss Bean. You don't go by Miss.
And this is Miss Jen.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder, do you think that you're gonna come up with like a moniker at the front of your name, or you just always just Bean?
Just Bean.
Just
I
Bean
think that's good. Yeah.
Watch out, because if you tell people your name is Just Bean, they'll start calling you Just Bean. Because for a long time, at my first store, my name was Just Jen.
Just Jen.
Just Jen.
Mm-hmm.
Because I said that once and then it stuck. The voice of Kyle. That's right. Kyle is our producer behind the scenes. This is a fun show that we do, and we have done it for years and years and years, in which we, hypothetically at the beginning, we were only supposed to spend 1 minute reading a comic book, like just totally skim it, and then like give you the lowdown for the book based on what we guessed it was about from reading it for the 1 minute. And that didn't go very long because we realized we liked reading the comic books too much. So it became, we read the whole book. We spent about 3 hours reading books for you so that you guys can get the lowdown from us. We try to keep our review of it down to a minute.
Yeah.
Which probably that doesn't work either.
Really, some weeks, if we get a lot of books in and we don't have 3 hours to read, some of the books do end up getting skimmed in a minute. So, but we usually give a warning. This week was a very light week, I think, because it's a holiday week. So
I see some of our regular good friends, Milton and Richard, and I don't know, Richard sounds weird. Why do I say Richard? It's just Ship. You didn't get a first name anymore. You prefer McBean? Oh my words.
That evidently that was originally the family name many years ago before they immigrated over to the US and everything. So
yeah.
Yep.
Oh, it's like reading Rainbow. Kind of. We need our own theme song though. Okay, we kind of have one. Is there any musicians out there that can make us look like a really, let's be real here. We don't want like a serious lead-in song. Like a dorky one would be good. If anyone out there is like a really good rapper or, I don't know, whatever. Folk music's fine. Does anyone have the skills? We will take any or all theme songs and use them and give you credit. All right, we're going to start reviewing comic books because that's what this show is, not us talking about random stuff. I'm going to start down here at the bottom. This one is The Amazing Spider-Man. We're continuing through this storyline that has been the Beyond one, right? Where Pete has been injured, and that's where this book completely focuses. I would call this almost like, when they talk about like the capsule episodes of shows where that one could stand alone. It's not quite that standalone, But in this one, it focuses on Peter Parker, who is in the hospital. You can see the severity of his injuries as he can't even sit up, really. But what happens in this issue is that there is something weird going on with the orderly that is in charge of his room. Because in the very beginning of the book, the orderly comes in and says, "Oh, your roommate is being transferred to another room," and then takes him out. And then there's no like spidey sense going on there. So, like when they do his little spidey sense things, there's not that, but he feels like there's something weird about the orderly. And of course there is something weird about the orderly. So it's a really great issue. If you haven't been reading any of the other Amazing Spider-Mans, 82 is a good place to just like grab up an issue. Because it probably is the first appearance of this person. I don't know if it will go anywhere from here or if they just intend this to be a one time and done kind of character, but it's super scary, this thing.
Is that the orderly on the cover? I think that's a variant cover.
It's a variant, but I have no idea who this is, by my reckoning, unless I missed completely an entire, chapter. I don't remember this character being in this book.
It's a very cool cover. Like,
it's pretty, but why would you wear negligee to be a bad guy? I don't know. She just has belts wrapped around her hands because there's a belt buckle on the end of each one. They seem terribly not useful. Just saying.
Oh man. I'm going to start at the top since you started at the bottom, and that's perfect because this is Justice League Incarnate number 2, which is also the series. The number 1 of the series was the first appearance of a character of Dr. Multiverse. As far as me and Hannah know, put our heads together, and we're pretty sure that it's her first appearance. Yep. I love this series. It has been so good. I think this one and Task Force Z are my two like most DC stories I've been enjoying the most and looking forward to the most, other than maybe what is that? The Human Target. That one's good too.
Yeah.
But this one is just pure fun. Task Force Z is also just pure fun. And in Justice League Incarnate, in the first one, we saw basically lots of multiverse chaos. And Darkseid has this huge plan to fully break the multiverse. So in order to combat that, they've basically pulled together a Justice League, but it's from all these different multiverse, like from all these different universes, in order to get like the best team together to fight this specific iteration of Darkseid. And this one is wild. They go to Earth 13 in this one, which is where you get the Superman versus Super Demon fight going on. Earth 13 is a very creepy place. Like, I don't know if that's a normal thing to see in DC. I don't know if you guys have seen Earth 13, but it is so creepy. It's like the horror version, which is, it being like the 13th universe, everything. It is so fun. Obviously, I love creepy stuff, so I had so much fun reading this one. So this one is number 2. Honestly, if you were to pick this one up and you haven't read number 1, you would be a little lost, but that's just the story in general. The story is very chaotic, and I love it for that. A lot of multiverse, universe, swapping.
All right, so I'm going to give you guys the lowdown on all the first appearances this week, just so you guys have it. So get out your pens and paper. Avengers Forever number 1 has the first appearance of Captain Carter. Batman One Dark Knight has the first appearance of a new Bat villain named EMP. Unknown continuity. Catwoman Lonely City number 2 has the first appearance of OG Beast, not to be confused with KG Beast. Gunslinger Spawn number 3 is the first appearance of Dakota. Justice League Incarnate number 2 has the first appearance of the Batwoman Who Laughs.
Yes. I didn't want to say that because I wanted it to be a surprise for
surprise.
Folks, but yeah.
Legends of the Dark Knight number 8 has the first team appearance of the Ghost Dogs. Miss Marvel Beyond the Limit is the first cameo of a Miss Marvel doppelganger. And There's some special way that Nightwing is 87 has been written, and Venom number 3 is the first appearance of Carson. And we know how big the number 3 for Venom number 3, how big the release for Venom number 3 last release was. Mm-hmm. That was first null. So we'll just see if that continues on as being the way things roll out. All right. Twisted Haunted Hi-ons number 2, Curse of the Green Book. We continue on with Jamie and Paul, who have been greeted when they have arrived in New Orleans by the Voodoo Queen in the last issue, who sends them on their way to go meet up with the Voodoo King. And this is that part of the story. They have to go through the swamp and show up at his place. And their ghost friend, who, I don't know, I can't remember her name. Such an easy name to remember, but I can't ever keep it in my brain. But she feels like there's something weird going on and goes to investigate while they meet up with the Voodoo King for the first time. There's a bunch of crazy supernatural stuff going on. And, of course, Paul and Jamie have got to figure out what's going on. And they're put to the test in this one. And the cover's not a lie. That there is a giant crocodile in there.
Nice. All right. My next one, which is funny, ours are lining up so well because that's, real band characters have inspired that. The guys from Twisted. So this one, I did not realize. Are you familiar with a TV show called Holliston?
Oh, no.
So this is based on the characters from a TV show, a live action TV show that was, I think that I can safely say that it probably has a cult following from what I've seen. And it is about two guys who are obsessed with making horror films.
Oh.
And you don't necessarily need to know that. I just got curious because it kind of tells you that in the beginning of like, hey, this is based on the TV show. But I definitely read it, and it is very you don't have to have like seen the TV show or know anything about these guys. Basically, it starts off, I believe their names are Adam and Joe, and they are there with their two girlfriends, and they are getting ready to go to their high school reunion. They're not really looking forward to it, and but they're getting ready to go, and while they're there, they start getting like these news reports that huge sinkholes are opening all over their small town. And as they're going through, all of a sudden one of them opens up and they fall and they end up in hell. And they're there.
Well, it's not very deep.
Yeah, it's so they go down, and the book is all about like they all get separated and they have to like, they're all in their own personal like worst situations they can imagine. Mm-hmm. They have to fight their way back to each other, and they have to like save people that they introduce you to some of their high school people they knew from high school, and it's very funny. It's very satirical and everything, and it was a really enjoyable book. This is one of the one shot. Let's see, and this one is from Source Point, isn't it? I know it's a one shot though. So that one was.
We got our Source Point box today.
Yes, I read a lot of Source Point today. Yep, Source Point. And it says you can stream the TV show on Shudder. So.
Oh, it's the spooky channel.
Yes.
It's not my cup of tea. All right, so Avengers Forever starts out, I believe, this is the one that starts out with, it goes back to the 1 million BC Avengers, specifically to Odin, and basically does a different storyline than what we know. Like on the first pages, it kind of says that Thor dies in infanthood.
Oh, my
which
goodness.
Okay, well, I guess we're not in our universe, clearly. And so basically everything in this book isn't the way it normally is. Imagine like a big kind of what if, but it is like I said, there's a first appearance in here. But to me, it has to be the first All Avengers team, like as a team up, because that's what they end up calling themselves. And this what looks like Ant-Man right here is absolutely not. There is somebody else completely in that armor. So they really take a lot of stuff and change it up. It's a lot of fun. I really enjoyed reading it. And this is on, I don't know, ongoing, but it's a short series at least. So it has a big kind of like cliffhanger ending. So if you like kind of like looking at the Avengers characters as like what if we just changed a little bit, tweaked the universe a little bit, and ended up with different characters in different roles, what would it look like? This one's really good.
Alrighty. Next up for me
Drew likes Shudder.
Right. Yes, my fellow horror lover. Alrighty. And next one is for me is Wonder Woman Evolution #2. So this series is another one where it just like really draws me in. Like every time I go to read this. So in the first issue of this, we saw Wonder Woman. Basically, most of it was a very classic like Wonder Woman. There's a problem, she had to solve it, and then at the end, she was just kind of reflecting on like her role on Earth, you know, and like the role of people who have superpowers on Earth. And then she gets abducted. And she gets taken and by an alien race of some sort and is told that she is going to represent humanity in a series of trials. So, and I kind of expected this to go into like, like crazy space, you know, craziness. But this one was really interesting because you can see on here that she's like fighting in her home island against Steve, you know, like she's like fighting against people that she's known, and it's sort of like a very like psychological, like they've put her into this trial where she is fighting against people that she knows.
Is it a battle of the mind?
Yeah, it really is. Like I said, I was expecting it to become like a big like crazy shooting battle, but I don't know what they're gonna do with the rest of the series, because she sort of like, I guess, survived or broke out of that first trial, like that you can kind of see, but it's definitely not over for her. So it's gonna be really, really interesting to see. Like, I don't know what's happening. They're not giving
based on reality, because clearly Trevor would just be killed.
Yeah.
Steve's
I don't.
No match.
They even say that. She's like immediately like, that's one of the first clues that she's like, this isn't real, because like he's not that strong. Like
it was like the only reason she wouldn't smash him like a bug is because she loves him, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
He's a wily fellow, but come on now. All right, Darkhold Spider-Man. The Darkhold series have all been essentially the darkest possible what ifs you could imagine for the Darkhold universe. This is the last one of the Darkhold books that are independent, and then the next one that comes out, I think, is like Darkhold Omega or some way that lets you know that it's completely finished. So in this version, the world is essentially kind of like dissolving or falling apart. Like buildings, people, everything just disintegrating. And this Peter Parker, who is married, it looks like, to Gwen Stacy. You never get to see her, but he's talking back and forth to her about they're supposed to get together for an anniversary meal. And he's promising he's going to make it. Why would you promise anything, Spider-Man? You can't promise stuff. You don't know what's going on. But he's using his webbing to like put things back together, like buildings, people, like people's jaws fall off. He'll just put that back on with his webbing. But the problem is that his webbing dissolves. So this is like a daily ongoing thing he's doing all the time, in which he gets like 3 hours of sleep a night, according to this. So it's kind of like, I don't know if you guys remember that Battlestar Galactica episode 33. where every 33 minutes they have to jump again. So they've been going for days and days and days and days and days and days, where 33 minutes after they arrive somewhere, as the entire batch of ships of humanity trying to run from the Cylons, 33 minutes after they've arrived there, the Cylons catch up with them.
Yeah.
So when you see them at the beginning of that episode, they're strung out. And that's kind of the way Spider-Man is for this one. And this one gets so daggum dark. Like, don't read this right before going to bed. Not because you're going to be scared, but it'll be depressing to you. It's like really good dark horror. So this one you should have read today.
I know. I've been reading the Darkholds. Like, I don't usually read very much Marvel, but and also all the descriptions always sound like someone's nightmare. Like, your friend comes to work and is like telling you their nightmare they had. That's what the Darkhold books always sound like.
And that's Alex Packnadell. So if you guys like that writer, that's why this one's so good. I didn't notice it before I read it. Yeah. I'll have to message him afterwards and say I love it.
So the next one I'm going to do is Wild Bullets #2, which a couple of weeks ago I did #1 because they had a like Thanksgiving themed, and I did not expect it to be an ongoing series. They didn't necessarily set it up to be ongoing, but then #2 came out and it's Christmas themed. You can see their little ornaments, the whole Bullet family. So basically, this is just like the world's weirdest, wildest family, and their last name is Bullets. That's where Wild Bullets comes from. And this one is another one where the reason it surprised me so much is because, like, you can read the first one, you could read this one without knowing anything about the other one. They are very standalone books.
So you said the first one was kind of like Knives Out, where they were solving some kind of murder.
Yeah, there was a murder going on. And in this one, and it's very similar in this one because both of them have had where there's all these different personalities. There's like a daughter who's like Indiana Jones. The mom is like a ghost hunter, clairvoyant. The dad is like this like old like ex-soldier, and like the brother's like a scientific genius, and then the other one is a noir style detective. So all these different like styles of stories. And in this one, there's like there's some like little cousins that are visiting them, and grandpa starts telling a story to them, but then he almost immediately falls asleep. And so then the daughter takes over telling the story. But then the mom, after a couple pages, the mom jumps in and says, actually, this is what happened next. And it's like the story is being told, but all these different like, and they also change the art style each time a new character starts speaking. It's so good. Like, I also compared this to Meet the Robinsons, but absolutely bonkers. Just, it's so fun. So that's the Wild Bullets, another one from Source Point this week. And this one was so good.
Perfect. All right. King Conan. To be quite honest with it, I don't read a whole bunch of Conan. I have read a little bit of Marvel's Conan, like the very first one that he appeared in, like the Savage Avengers. I read that one, and then I read the very beginning of the Conan regular series that's been running, and some of the tie-ins. This one I don't think really ties to anything specific. It basically shows him that he has been king, and that he's kind of like left some of the kingdoms that he's conquered. So he's set himself up as a king and then said, no, this is boring, let's go. And in this one of the characters that has historically been kind of like a foil to him or a bad guy in his universe shows up. And they have like knocked down, dragged out, like real serious, someone's dying during these battles. And this other character can use magic and stuff, so it's not like just sword fighting. And that bad guy is operating under a certain thought that turns out to be not true. So it's kind of cool that the way that it rolls out. So, and it, of course, it leaves it to it's an ongoing, so it's not just a standalone book. So if you like normal Conan, but not necessarily about his conquering of the girls, but more about his battles, his ability to fight well. And this is the book for you, for King Conan.
All right. My next one is another one from Source Point. This is second place number 1. And this one it's set up as you, the reader, are from the point of view of a reality TV show crew who has gone to this gym, like workout gym on a different planet, and they say right off the bat, so like the whole thing is like the characters like talking like directly towards the reader as if you're a camera. Like yeah. And including like the little like where it has the person's name and it's like the little interview cutaways. It has those too. And basically they say Earth invented bodybuilding, but us, and I think they're called like the Klegans, we've perfected it. And they're all bodybuilders.
Fancy.
And so it's very funny because it's definitely a very humorous book, and it is all about this. The main character is this guy here on the front with the forearms. He does have 4 arms. Okay. And he is the owner of this gym. He has his sons. You meet his like other personal trainers that are working there. There's customers, one of which is just a giant foot, you know. And basically, and then it sets up, there's this whole rivalry with like this ex like training partner person who used to like come to the gym, and it's really definitely setting up. This is definitely not a one shot. This is like going to be a continuing story of this gym owner and what, you know, him trying to like do this reality TV show at the same time that like this new drama in his life is starting. So this one is very, very funny, very good book.
All I want to know is, does anyone at any point call each other dude or bro?
I want to say yes. I can't specifically remember a moment in there, but I'm pretty sure they do.
I mean, they'd have me maybe if they say dude or bro, but particularly if they say dude bro.
I don't think they said dude bro at any point.
Well, I mean, maybe not then.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm making a mess. All right, we are wrapping up this crazy storyline that's called X-Men: The Trial of Magneto, in which you had Wanda, Scarlet Witch, die, come back in a resurrected form, and then try to help solve her murder, which is kind of interesting. And a bunch of things with specifically with the council or the Silent Council happens in the series itself. But this one, I can't say a whole bunch about without kind of like telling you. I will say they figure out who the actual killer was and the purpose for it. And it kind of like furthers the story to the next thing that's Hickman started long ago with this idea of the resurrection. So it wasn't one of those the reason why it doesn't make any sense in the universe or comes from left base. It's just I like where it went very much.
How many? Do you know how many issues are left for that?
I think that's it. I mean, they kind of wrap up the story and say, nice, let's go to the next thing. I don't think that there's one after this, but I could be wrong. I guess it could, because it connects just straight to the main universe. They could start anything in there that they wanted.
Nice. Alrighty. Next is No Holds Barred, number 1.
I wish we could read some of this out loud because it's iambic pentameter.
It is so, I know, and it's so is that what it is? It's because I know that they also have the thous and the haths and all that. So it's Shakespearean style writing, but it is definitely modernized. You will definitely be able to understand it because that always I mean, I enjoy Shakespeare, but it takes me a while to read it. This one, it is just enough to get you into that setting of this is Shakespeare as a superhero. Like superhero. He's more of a vigilante. It's not on this cover, which is actually cover C, but he, and it's also one of those, he just puts on a mask and like a different colored shirt and then runs out and is like, haha. And at some point, like, they're like, who are you? You know, and like nobody can tell, but I'm like, he's just literally just like a mask just right there and no change to anything else.
Is it a period piece? Like he's in his own era?
Yes.
Okay.
And he so he's trying to write a play, and it's also not a super serious book. This is also not. It is very humorous. And I mean, at one point I was cracking up because at one point he one of the characters who is a detective who is analyzing this crime scene because William Shakespeare gets interrupted writing a play because a crime has been committed, and he has to go put on his mask and run out to go help solve the crime. And when he gets there, the detective, whatever they call it back then, is trying to collect evidence, and he says that he is too old for this excrement. That is exactly what it says in the book, and it just, it cracked me up so much.
Movie quoting, go.
Yeah, and so this one is it is so funny and it is so good, and like, so the whole thing is written in like kind of like I'll call it pseudo Shakespearean style, you know. Mm-hmm. And this one is an awesome one from Behemoth. I had so much fun with it this week. I had a lot of fun ones this week.
I suspect that one will be a quick sellout because I think there are a lot of people like me that are like a little bit obsessed with Shakespeare. I would have been totally one of those groupie people back in the day. I would have followed him around like he was the, Grateful Dead. Mm-hmm. For sure.
You would have helped them pick up, what did they take the entire Rose Theater apart and then move it somewhere else? You would have been there holding, carrying some beams.
I'd be like, I tell you what, I'll hold all the nails. All right, this one is a Wastelanders Hawkeye. So for fans of like Old Man Hawkeye, you'll see Old Man Hawkeye, but some other old men from our Marvel universe in here. And in this one, so this guy here, that is Daredevil. So already a blind dude. And in this one, Hawkeye is blind. So very interesting setup for a story. And I don't know where Wastelanders is supposed to like occur other than the wasteland, right? It feels very, very much like some of the other ones this week, which are like, what if? They're just not calling them what ifs anymore. There's like, we can't have a bunch of what ifs come out at the same time. Let's just say that we're going to make really entertaining stories with your favorite characters and just call them what we want to call them. So I like that. I don't feel like they have to be married to the what if thing for something that's not attached to the main universe, because kind of like DC's figured out a way to do it by just calling it Black Label. So
yeah. So is this, because I know what Wastelanders, was it Wolverine that came out? Yep. So are these one shots that have been that they're doing?
I feel like they have to be.
Okay.
We've yelled at them a little bit about why don't call it one, call it one of, or don't do anything. Just Wastelanders Hawkeye. You don't have to put a one on there. Yeah. People get the idea. Because one to most everyone in the universe means that there's going to be a two.
Yeah.
In this case, I don't know if it's true.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Let's see. One. This is Boston Metaphysical Society, the Book of Demons, which is a one shot and doesn't have a number one on it. So
they're always one shot. So they're always so stinking good.
Yeah. And it describes, I love this because this book does everything right. Because look, it's a one shot. It does not have a number one on it anywhere. Look at this. Take notes. It also immediately on the inside explains to you that there is a 6-issue series called the Boston Metaphysical Society, and that this one, along with the others they've been coming out with, including Ghosts and Demons, are all one-shots that can be read by themselves, that are inspired by, and this basically, they love the characters, the readers love the characters, they want to keep it going. This one does pick up where Ghosts and Demons, which is one that I reviewed a month or two ago, I think. It picks up where that one left off. So if you read that one, you really enjoyed it. This one picks up the story where it was leaving off, but you can definitely just jump into this one. It is made to be read by itself. So in this one, we see, it's hard to see. The main character for this one is this lady here with the awesome green glowing hands, who you'll remember her from if you had the previous one, she's the one that has awesome supernatural powers and also a very angry mother. So
wow.
she has these awesome powers, but then her mother is convinced that she is a witch and that she should not be using her powers. And since this one also takes place in sort of a steampunk universe where America is run by these like very powerful families, it's kind of an oligarchy. Is that?
Yeah,
I think I'm saying it right.
Yeah,
and so the mother is like convinced that only the great houses should have power, and that's why her daughter is a witch. And the mother is kind of off on her own thing, but basically because the mother is out there trying to get her daughter arrested,
oh wow,
somebody takes notice that there's a woman screaming in the streets that her daughter has supernatural powers, and decides to try to harness that energy for their own use. And they do in fact abduct her, and they things do not go well because they want her to do they do use her powers, and then her and her friends have to try to stop what they have started. So very good, lots of good supernatural goodies in this one. So it's Boston Metaphysical Society, The Book of Demons.
So I guess that she learns the thing that I just started watching Arcane, and the first episode they're like belittle one of the characters, like, so what we've learned from this is not to run through the streets, and when a stranger asks you what you're doing, say that you made a big score. Of course they're going to attack you and try to take it.
Yeah.
Don't tell them that you got powers.
Yeah. Well, and she's not. The mother is the one who's out there, you know.
Mom, come on now.
Yeah.
All right, this one is awesome. Miss Marvel, Beyond the Limit.
Nice.
Finds Miss Marvel exploring the possibility of other hers. She's hanging out with her, I guess her auntie. She's visiting her in I think Chicago, and she's from Jersey or somewhere. But her I'm gonna just call her auntie because it's easier, is a scientist, and is it this does she go to, I think she goes because her auntie is at the lab and something has occurred there. Yep. There's somebody, she finds out that she hears her aunt in distress and then goes to go and rescue her at her facility. And there's some hooded figure, which you don't actually see who it is, trying to take something that she's been working on. And it looks like there's some kind of universe splitting that happens there, which is how you end up with this alternate reality versions of our main character, Miss Marvel. It's really, really cool. And you can see a lot more of her culture, which is neat.
That's awesome. Alrighty. Let's see. Do you want to do another one? Since I know you've got a few more than me.
Oh, do I?
If you do one more right now, then we'll be even to go on to the end.
All right. House of Slaughter number 3 continues its story of going back and trying to tell the story of the Order of St. George, and basically a generation before Erica, who's our main character. So this is like, she is at the House of Slaughter as a very young person, like little girl, but it's mostly about the main character in this one is, I've forgotten his name. But it has been focusing on him and his training to be what she is, which is to part of the order that fights these creatures that no adults can see, only kids, but it goes and kills children because something is killing the children. Clearly, that's what it's about. And he has befriended another Slayer, and they make a personal connection in this one, which is kind of sweet. So you've probably seen that happening from like a mile off, and it's probably not a surprise to you because they were like really projecting this from issue 1.
Yeah.
But the other cool thing I do want to mention to you about House of Slaughter and the Something is Killing the Children universe is that they solicited this FOC a packet of 1 through 5 of Something is Killing the Children with all new covers by David Mack that are being sold as one piece. And I have a feeling that as FOC is closed for that people are going to be like, oh yeah, this is going to be a show that's coming up. And even though it's a fairly expensive pack at like, I think it's $39.95. If you think about how much you'd have to pay for any one of Something is Killing the Children 1 through 5, you'd be like, oh, this is like way less.
Yeah.
So do get with your local comic shop and tell them if you want one of those packs, because it's a lot of money for a store to put down if they bought a bunch of them. So they probably were like, all right, I'm going to find a middle road for the amount that I'm going to get. So you definitely don't want to be one of those people that's like on the opening day being like, oh, sorry, we had people sign up for those on their pull list and we don't have any more out there. So don't be one of those people. Be one of those people who's like, I was smart.
Yep. I don't think any comic shop will ever get mad at you for requesting something too early. That's I think
you're correct.
Helps them plan.
Confirm. Yeah. Hannah confirms.
As the person who makes the orders, can confirm.
Yes. Alrighty, this is one that Miss Jen has read and Hannah's already read, and today I got to read it because we had only one copy of it for a long time because Miss Jen got it from the Kickstarter. Did you get it from the Kickstarter or did they just send it to you?
The creator sent it to me so that I could preview it so I could decide if I wanted to order a bunch of books. And in this case, it totally worked because this is a title I might have looked at the cover of and been like, I'll get a couple.
Yeah.
But I read it, and so I know I loved it.
Yes. So this is Octobriana with Love. She is, to steal Miss Jen's description of this, Russian female Conan. That right? All right. And this original, so this is also, it's called the 50th anniversary special. I am not 100% sure. It's a pretty thick book. Got one of the flat spine books from Dead Good Comics. And it says right here that from 1971, I guess that's when this character was created. Originally was 1971, but I didn't think to actually look it up. Have you looked up anything about it?
I haven't, because there's two things that are possible. One is that, yes, this character showed up in something in 1971, and I totally have never heard about it until I got that one book in the mail.
Yeah.
Or two, it's one of those things where they put that kind of stuff on the cover, and it's not real true at all.
Yeah. So possibly this character arrived in 1971. This is the first time I've ever seen her, and this whole book is not a singular story, nor is it a singular artist. And I was absolutely shocked because most of the time when they say, when one of these books comes out and they say, well, there's multiple artists, there's a couple, 3, 4, maybe like 6, I don't know how many artists took on, and it's some of them are 2 pages, some of them are a little bit longer. There are just all these different stories jumping back and forth across time of Octobriana. And it's very cool in that way because you get to see kind of like her origin story, and then you get to see her in like the 80s, and then there's like modern day, and it's perfect for, if this character actually has been around for 50 years, it's seeing her in all these different eras of dress. This is like her, I would say like late 80s, early 90s get up that she has, and she's got like the the scrunchie, and she's got her crop top and her like punk rock. She's like out at like a punk club. There's like huge monsters happening that she has to fight. She's very cool. So it goes, and there's also, at one point, she's also in Nazi Germany, like fighting the Nazis. So that's more than 50 years ago. That's some real time hopping. But yeah, this one is a very unique book. I don't know. Do you know what they're going to do next with this character? Or is this the only thing we're going to see for a while?
I'll have to ask them, because I don't know what's next. I hope they continue on with the characters. Really awesome.
Yeah, I would love to see like a real like linear sort of story, just to get more, because you get like a good like idea of who this character is, of Octobriana. But and they have the ancient Egyptian one too. Like almost forgot about that one. So this book is awesome, and like I said, it probably a good one to grab now, because it may be the only time you see this character for a while. We'll see. We'll see what's coming up next. I think they have something in the back maybe where they're kind of showing more books they want to do, but I don't know if they have the actual dates.
She looks like Pamela Anderson on that cover.
Yeah, she really does. Yeah, we'll see. I don't know if I can show the inside of this, but see, they've got, I don't know if these are just like idea covers or if these are,
it doesn't look like a bunch of variant covers, but like her in different eras also. So
okay, yeah.
We'll
yeah. So we'll definitely be keeping an eye out. You'll hear from us if they come out with anything else for her, because we all have enjoyed it.
All right. We have got Harbinger number 3, where in issue number 2 we found out that the Pete Stanchek we've been following around figures out that there's another Pete Stanchek in play. So who's the other Pete Stanchek? This Pete Stanchek doesn't remember anything about himself. He shows up in issue 1 and is basically everybody that meets him is trying to like, oh no, we gotta get away from him because he's a bad guy, right? Because he essentially has any power that you can imagine. He's got it. He's the ultimate Psyot. So there's nothing bigger or better than him. So I understand why people are afraid of him. But in this one, the one that we're following that doesn't know who he is, decides to put on a costume and a mask so people can't tell who he is, because that's what they're terrified of, is because he never has worn any of those things before. He's just been walking around as Pete Stanchek, because that's why would he hide? Because no one can hurt him. And he goes out intent on trying to make an impact and try to find out who is the person or being or machine or whatever who has his memory and wants to have it back. So that's what's playing out in this one. I love the costume. So bright and colorful and way cool. Pick up some cool Valiant. Support them.
Also, I'm not sure if we're getting comments right now. I see some notifications there at the bottom. We haven't seen a comment.
Pop those off because those are bots.
Oh, okay. But
blocked the bots.
Yes. Alrighty. But we haven't seen a comment since 6:15. So if anybody is talking, with just technical issues on our end. So alrighty. I was thinking about that because when I did the show on Saturday, I had a problem with not getting comments on my phone. But
oh no.
Yeah. Luckily Jenna was there to back me up on that one.
Perfect.
All right, and now for the one where Batman One Dark Knight Book 1, which Miss Jen officially confirmed earlier, this is first appearance of a new villain. Although in the book, I did not pick up on that because, and actually you might not pick up on it if you were just grabbed this, because they talk about him as if he's been in Arkham Asylum for decades. They literally talk about, oh yeah, I remember that time 5 years ago. And it's phrased in just the way that most comic books do when like something happened before, then, and
so you're saying everything except for the little asterisk that says in this specific issue.
Yeah. And so, and also it's another of these like big DC books, like big magazine size that have been coming out. And this one is, and whenever I pick up, it's kind of like when you get like the Flip comics or Echo Lands, the one that's been coming out that's sideways. Whenever I see those, I do have an initial skepticism And sometimes when they make like big ones like this, you know, I think you could have made it smaller. This one, they take advantage of it. As Hannah found out when I was like making sound effects and like waving it at her.
That made my day.
Yeah. And so, they fully take advantage of them having all of this extra space of it being magazine size. But this one, so it starts off and you are seeing Batman. Obviously, he is helping the transfer of this prisoner from Arkham Asylum to Blackgate. At the same time, there is a sort of like political drama that's playing out between Commissioner Gordon and the head of prison services for Gotham City. And basically, the head of prison services is not happy with Commissioner Gordon's treatment of prisoners and what she sees as him being too lenient. She sees Arkham Asylum as being old and outdated, and she wants to move more of these prisoners to their big fancy Blackgate facility. And that's part of what's happening. They're literally having a press conference about it as they're moving EMP, the first of these like prisoners, across the city. And surprise, surprise, things go wrong. So it is things go very, very wrong. On the back it says he'll be like a ticking time bomb in Gotham. Ooh. All they had to do was get him across town, but this does not happen. So this is a really, really good one. I'm not sure how many books are going to be in this series, but like I said, they fully, and 62 Lefty Blues has given me the right term in prestige format.
Yeah, this one's like weird. It's like a prestige magazine format. More words. This one is Venom #3, and in true Marvel form, they have this series, just like the last Kate series, giving us a big release of a character in issue #3. Because remember, in the Kate's run, 3 was where we got Null. So don't miss getting this issue. Because this one deals a little bit more with, okay, so you know that Dylan, who is Eddie's son, has been by himself, but with Sleeper, who is the symbiote that looks like a cat, but that can turn into like a man-looking symbiote anytime it wants to. And then the dog, which looks like a pit bull, that is the form that the symbiote that was formerly Venom when it was on Eddie has taken for now. And he's trying to figure out his place in the world because his identity is very firmly placed in his relationship with Eddie at this point. He doesn't really know who he is without somebody to be on. And Dylan isn't taking him on himself. As he says, that's not a good idea. And I guess Sleeper doesn't need anybody because he's fine with being his own being. But maybe he hasn't been a symbiote for something before. It hasn't formed that kind of like the need to have somebody with him. So that's kind of where they are right now. And you find out that there is an organization that definitely wants to have control of Dylan. So they know what they're looking at very clearly. So it's really, really, really cool. So don't miss Venom 3.
And we have a little bit of time left where I'm going to mention that it's actually one that I reviewed last week that I think that will be out is A King's Vengeance, which we already reviewed, but I think the regular cover of that one is coming out this week. At least we're going to have it coming out. So
yeah, there's a lot of, just so that everybody knows, there are some weird release anomalies. Like I know that some stores I heard got No Holds Barred last week. But for all the stores that I know personally, it was in their boxes for this week. So there are some of those kind of like weird anomalies. And then like the What's the Furthest Place from Here, the one with the 7-inch record in it.
Yeah.
Some stores got a copy before. Some are getting them now. They're different printings, I guess, and you only know it from the color of the record, but just be aware that they were allocated down, as far as I know, everyone was allocated down to one. So it's not like you're going to go into your local comic shop and be able to find one unless you've pre-ordered it. I just don't want you to get mad at them. They had no control over it. Like you could have ordered a bunch of them, but it didn't matter what you ordered. You got one. So as far as I know, that's as many as anyone got.
Yeah.
So.
And which that's also, I mean, Image has said they're not doing any second printings, and that is technically listed as a second printing. So it's already rare enough that they're even bothering to do that. But yeah.
So make sure you start putting lots of things on your pull list if you have an idea that you want to read it. Follow along with, comic book news sites, like go to previewsworld.com and look at what they have coming up. Watch shows on the Experience that are talking about FOC releases. Follow your favorite YouTuber that talks about things that are coming out, just to kind of keep yourself in the loop so you can put them on the list as soon as you can. And I know I've said it before, but some of you guys might be new to comics. The way that ordering goes is that comic book stores order about 2 months out, and that's called initial order. And a lot of stores are no longer doing initial orders just because of time constraints for us, because we get what's called FOC, or final order cutoff looks, which are really close to things coming out 3 weeks out. But what really is happening now is that a lot of publishers have already gone to print way before that 3 week out, because that's usually, they used to set the print run at that 3 weeks. Now they're no longer doing that. They have to set it way earlier and get the art out because of the paper shortage and the amount of time it gets. Most of them are having to get things printed overseas, and that takes longer to get into the port. And then once it gets to the port, it has to make a truck, and all that stuff's becoming really hard. So just know, the earlier you can get your numbers into your local comic shop, the more likely is you will see it in your box later on. So this has been a public service announcement.
Okay, real quick question.
Yeah.
What is the first comic that comes to your mind when you think of something you're looking forward to in 2022?
2022. I don't know if I know anything that far forward. Oh man. I don't know.
What are you looking forward to, Bean?
Yeah, you have one?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
It's the Bone Orchard, which is starting a big horror like series of comics that's gonna be coming out. So I'm looking to forward to that one.
Very cool. All right. We're in our last second, so we're going to say goodbye to everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. If you can, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you're watching somewhere else, it helps us very much if you do. And spread the word. Share that this show exists. It helps us out because it gives us positive reinforcement. And we'll keep doing it for as many years as we can for you guys, so you can use this information. All right. We'll see you guys next week, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.